Hey guys, Mr. March, and we're back with Act 3, Scene 1 of A Midsummer Night's Dream. So, last time we left off, we saw that Puck's half of the love and idleness flower went terribly wrong, right? He put it on Lysander instead of Demetrius. Lysander wakes up, he falls in love with Helena. Helena doesn't believe it. And then we got that whole kind of like merry-go-round thing where everybody's chasing the wrong person who's not into them. What we haven't seen yet, and what we'll see today, is the other half of the flower that Oberon put on his wife Titania's eyes. We're going to see how that plays out. So, you might have forgotten, like they get a little bit lost in the mix here. The workers who decide that they are going to put on a play at Duke Theseus and Queen Hippolyta's wedding. And again, just the fundamental premise of what they're doing is absurd, right? Like a bunch of uneducated workers who have no experience in theater, they're not actors, they have no business performing a play. Them doing a play in general is like, yeah, probably a bad decision. Them doing it at the biggest event of the year, like my singing voice sounds like you're trying to throw a cat into a bathtub. You know what I mean? Like, that would be like me singing at halftime of the Super Bowl. Like, it's just terrible idea. Me singing in general, bad idea. Putting me on stage at the Super Bowl at halftime show, catastrophic. But these guys are out in the woods getting ready to rehearse. So the workers gather, and they let you know right at the beginning that where they gather to rehearse, Titania's nearby. Hey, a little foreshadowing. She's still sleeping. Her fairy servants are nowhere to be seen. And the six workers start discussing issues with the play. So, right out the gate, and his problem is this. He's like, Pyramus and Thisbe, and I guess it's worth explaining this for a second. Pyramus and Thisbe is supposed to be like Romeo and Juliet, supposed to mirror it. And in the comedies, everything is going wrong and it just turns out right. And in the tragedies, everything looks like it might go, and then it all falls apart and everybody dies. Right? So the fact that they are considering this a comedy of Pyramus and Thisbe seems a bit misguided. Those characters are supposed to die. This is probably a tragedy. I don't know. I never read Pyramus and Thisbe, but if you're going to make the assumption that it's like Romeo and Juliet, this was probably supposed to be a tragedy from the get-go. So Bottom's like, hey, my character Pyramus is supposed to draw a sword and kill himself. And ladies can't handle that sort of thing, so what should we do about that? And the other guys are like, oh yeah, that's terrible. We should leave the killing out of this play. And Bottom's like, I've got an idea. Of course you do. And he's like, well, I'm going to go out at the beginning and I'm going to deliver like this prologue, a little monologue for the people. And I'm going to say, hey, just so you guys know, no one really dies in this play. In fact, I'm not even Pyramus. I'm just an actor, and you even know me. It's me, Bottom, from town. I'm the guy from the neighborhood. Isn't that crazy? And then they won't be afraid. Right? Brilliant. So everyone's like, oh yeah, sounds good. Great plan. And then someone's like, well, hey, speaking of things that ladies are afraid of, what about the lion? And Bottom's like, oh, don't worry. I have an answer for that too. And Bottom's like, here's what you do. You're going to go out on stage, Snout, and you're going to have like your costume's going to be half lion, half your normal face. And you're going to be like, hey, ladies, I know you're scared of lions, but don't be afraid because I'm not a real lion. Look, it's me, Snug. You know me from town. Again, another brilliant solution. And then they do this two more times with how to deal with the moonlight, the lighting situation, and how to deal with the situation of a wall. And they decide they can't construct a wall, and so a person is going to have to pretend to be the wall and dress up as a wall. Basically, they try to handle all of the logistical problems of like set design and, just aspects of them thinking that people can't handle that ladies can't handle scary things in the play. And I guess what it amounts to is they make the worst possible solution for every logistical problem that comes up. Like, without fail, it's like, hey, what should we do with this situation? I don't know, but why don't we think of the worst thing that we could possibly do and then choose that? And they do it every time. So they finish with this, and then Peter Quince is like, all right, cool, guys, let's rehearse, right? And so they start to rehearse, and the first scene is Bottom and Snout. And so Bottom does his first lines, right? And then Bottom, after he delivers his lines, his character is supposed to go off stage. So while this is happening, Robin Goodfellow comes through, and he's like, oh my God, good Lord, what am I watching? Look at these mopes. And the actual line he says is, what hempen homespuns have we swaggering here? He's just like, what did I just stumble upon? Look at these idiots. And he's watching. And then he watches he watches Robin go off stage. He watches Bottom go off stage. He's basically like, I gotta mess with this guy. And so while Bottom is off stage, Quince is still there giving stage directions to Flute and telling him what to do and whatever. In the meantime, Robin, this is Oberon's number 2 guy. He is a magic fairy. He follows Bottom off stage and he's just like, this guy's an ass. Boom! And he turns his head into a literal ass's head. So now this is a grown man with the head of a donkey. And, we talked about it, or I talked about it in an earlier video about puns. And as far as puns go, the name Bottom, working on multiple levels, is pretty good. And then taking it to the next level of giving him a literal ass's head, perfect. For a joke that was written 400 some years ago, it's pretty darn good. It holds up today. So this guy with the ass's head, Bottom, comes back on stage and he goes to deliver his next line. And everyone else, all the other workers, are like, oh my God, what is that? And they take off running. Like, everybody just breaks off in different directions. And Bottom's standing there and he's like, oh, real funny, guys, real funny. How are we supposed to rehearse if you're going to act like idiots? Everybody here is acting like an ass when we're trying to get ready for this play. And Robin's standing there, and it's kind of this moment where Robin is just kind of like thumping his chest. He's like, I got the best pranks. Oh my God, I'm hilarious. And he's watching this unfold, and Bottom is really frustrated because just like Helena in the last scene where it's like, there's no way she could have known that there was a magic spell that was causing these events to happen. There's no way that Bottom could know that he has an actual donkey's head. He doesn't know. He doesn't know that this magic exists. He thinks that his friends are goofing on him. So his friends kind of start to come back in real quick, and they're like, yo, dude, what's going on? You are different. And Bottom doesn't believe them. Snout comes in first, and then Quince comes in, and he really thinks that they're messing with him. And he's just like, oh, okay, you guys want to play a prank on me. You're the one being an ass. I don't have an ass head. You're an ass head, right? Like, he refuses to believe that what has happened to him has happened. And to be fair, can you blame him? I mean, I guess he could have physically reached up and touched his face and realized that he had, hair everywhere and, a long snout and, whatever. But he didn't, and he doesn't believe them. And so these guys are leaving. And he starts to sing. He starts to sing a song. And while he's singing this song, wouldn't you know it, Queen Titania wakes up and throws her eyes upon this gorgeous ass-headed man who is singing a song, and she says, oh my God, he is gorgeous. Quite literally what she said was, what angel wakes me from my flowery bed? She is immediately in love. She is enchanted. And Bottom keeps singing. And Titania is, she's just like, oh my God, that is the most beautiful voice I have ever heard on the most beautiful. She is just completely enthralled by this. And she just like, she says, on the first, and thy fair virtues force, perforce doth move me on the first view to swear, I love thee. Where she's just like, I've never laid eyes on you before, but I know at one look that I love you. And that is the power of the love and idleness flower. And so Bottom kind of has like an aw shucks thing about it, oh, that's, whatever. I mean, who knows? That doesn't sound logical, but love isn't logical. And there's just kind of a moment there where Bottom's just like, yeah, or Titania says, thou art as wise as thou art beautiful. And Bottom's like, yeah, I don't know if I'm that wise. I'm just trying to find my way out of the woods. I'm just a guy singing in the woods. And Titania's like, don't worry about going out of the woods. You could stay here. And she says something that's a little bit creepy. There's a line here. It says, thou shalt remain here whether thou wilt or no. Where it's kind of like, no, stay here, baby. You're gonna stay here. So a little on the creepy side, a little on the non-consent side, but, what are you going to do? It's an asshead man in a fairy tale. And so she's basically like, stay here. You're going to have whatever you want. I'm no common spirit. I have fairies that will attend to you. They will give you jewels from any. She starts sweet-talking him. She's like, baby, I'm going to get you jewels from all across the earth. You're going to have fairies to wait on you, hand and foot, give you whatever you want. And she calls in the fairies, and the fairies come in, and they're like, what's good, what's good, what's good? Oh, yes, queen. And the queen's like, see this beautiful man here? And there's probably a moment where they look at him, and they're like, what, you mean the guy with the ass head? But, they're servants, and they're like, yes, what's good? And she's like, that man right there, this kind and courteous gentleman. She's like, give him whatever he wants. Get him all the fruits, the finest things. Wait on him hand and foot. Give this man everything he wants. And all of the fairy servants all just start saying, hail, mortal, hail, hail, hail. We worship you. And so Bottom starts introducing himself. And now Bottom is a kept man by the queen of the fairies, Titania, and has 4 fairy servants looking after his every want or need. And that, my friends, is Act 3, Scene 1. So we will come back next time and get a little further into the action.